Whenever you feel comfortable with that. There? Yeah, I'll sit here. I know his seat. Oh, that's his seat?
It's time.
Order. Doug, could you please do the roll call?
Can you,
We don't have lights. I don't have lights anyway, as usual.
you guys are good, you guys are good.
There it is.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Got it, yeah. I call the meeting to order. Doug, please take the roll call.
Commissioner Castle,
Here?
Vice Chair Jesty,
Here.
Commissioner Samples.
Here.
Commissioner Sherbin.
Here.
So we got 3 absentees, huh?
Yes, sorry. I'm not sure about Jason, Commissioner Conroy. I hadn't heard from him, so maybe he might be showing up a little late. I know Chair Marin is going to be absent tonight, and so is Commissioner Woodham. He'll be absent tonight.
Okay. Let's salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the order of the agenda is in front of us. So do I get approval?
Move to approve the order of agenda.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the agenda is recorded as approved. The next item, E, is the blue folder items. Doug, any blue folder items?
Yeah, we do have the blue folder items. I had sent it to you electronically earlier this week, but I also have put the copies of the financial, audited financial report for the year, for fiscal year '22. So those are the copies that are in front of you tonight, and that's the only blue folder items.
So, any comments, Wendy? Oh, you're here. Eric?
He wanted to know if you had any comments about the blue folder items.
No. So
I think you just receive and file the blue folder items.
so that's approved by the commission, correct?
Yes, I think you should just say whether you want to receive and file the blue folder items.
We don't need another approval, right?
You can take a motion, maybe just do a motion to receive and file blue folder items.
I'll move that we accept the audited financials for 22.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the E1, the folder, the blue folder document is approved. The F is consent calendar. F1 approval of the affidavit of posting the regular budget and finance committee meeting on August 10th, which is today. So do we need to take votes on that? No?
So we're on the consent calendar, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so all the items there, you don't have to approve them individually. The consent calendar, you can approve all items at one time unless one of you want to pull one of the items.
I'll approve that we approve all of the items in the consent calendar, the posting of the affidavit, as well as the minutes from our last meeting in June.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the affidavit has been approved. The item F2, approval of the minutes from the meeting we had in June, on June 8th.
That's all.
Do we,
Move on to exclude,
Pardon?
well, move on to public participation.
uh-oh, what happened? Okay, got it. We got the F2 consent calendar.
I think we're going to move on to item G.
Okay, excluded items. Are there any items that are?
There's nothing there. So you go on to the next one. You can move on to item H.
So do we need to take a vote on that or?
No, there's nothing for item G, so we'll move on to item H. There's,
Public participation of non-agenda items. Have there been any comments from the public?
there are no public comments.
Okay, so we move on to H1. Any emails or comments on the website?
There's nothing there. That's all part of H1, so nothing there.
Okay.
So we can move on to item I, which is also no items from previous agendas.
So
So just go ahead and read through from I through J.
So it's recorded that there have been no public comments or e-comments or emails from the public. So be it noted. Okay, move on to item I, items continued from the previous agendas. Are there any
Nothing
items?
there, nothing there.
Okay, so move on to J, items for discussion prior to action. Any items there?
We do have two items, so we're going to start with J1, which is the city treasurer's report. And we have the city treasurer here to present his presentation.
So would someone like to comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Jesse, members of the commission, Eugene Solomon, Redondo Beach City Treasurer. with Deputy City Treasurer Nilesh Mehta tonight with our quarterly treasurer's report for the fourth quarter of 22-23. These items are presented to you along with our economic report, our monthly report for the Budget and Finance Commission. At this point, like to hand it over to our Deputy City Treasurer, Nilesh Mehta, to make a presentation for you.
Hello, everyone. So today we're going to be presenting the quarterly admin report, which includes the treasurer's portfolio summary, investment reporting guidelines, as well as the investment report provided through FHN Main Street. That includes the portfolio summary, investment policy compliance, investment activity report, and finally the economic and market update. Today's PowerPoint presentation is going to consist of investment reporting objectives and guidelines, policy compliance, quarterly performance, historical book value, cash flow analysis, month-end portfolio book yield, maturity distribution, trading activity for the quarter, a little bit of details related to the interest allocation, and finally the fiscal impact to the city. As you may have seen this slide in the past, I'll just go over it quickly. Key investment objectives for municipal investing. It's the city treasurer maintains the city's cash flows while earning a competitive rate of return on the investments within the constraints of the city's investment policy and state law. It's important to keep in mind that we follow the following: safety, which is protect the principal; liquidity, which is provide necessary liquidity to cover ongoing and unexpected cash needs; and finally, yield, which is maximizing earnings, recognizing need for safety, liquidity, and subject to specified state and local governing body. Always remember, it's the community's money, not ours, so we have to act accordingly and a responsible stewardship capacity. It's the investment manager's objective to earn a reasonable rate of return on the city's investments while preserving capital in the overall portfolio. It should never be the manager's goal to earn maximum returns on the city's portfolio, as this would expose the city to an unacceptable level of risk. Typically, failures in public investing occur when policies are not clear, policies are inappropriate, policies are not followed, or oversight is inadequate. Important to keep these questions in mind. Do you review the investment policy? Do you understand the investment program? Do you receive and review periodic investment reports? Are they clear, concise, and readable? And finally, do you fully understand them? It's the city's job. It's the job of the staff to make sure that they're readable and understandable, and it shouldn't be as complex as many other policies and reports might be. Here's a brief summary on the policy compliance aspect. If you look at the right column, you'll see that in the past quarter, we were in compliance with our investment policy, and weighted average maturity 1.91 at the bottom. You'll see that policy states it should be less than 2.5 years. Liquidity 32.52%. Here's this next slide goes over the annual performance quarter by quarter, and you'll see at the bottom right, you'll see the fourth quarter performance related to the remaining quarters in the fiscal year. We ended the year with a rate of return of 2.29%. The lay field, 3.17%. If you look at the first quarter, you'll see that it started off at 1.6%. So it's been quite an increase in the LAIF. And I'll go over the details of our portfolio in the next slide. This is a comparison of quarter by quarter of the last fiscal year. As I mentioned, the lay field at the same time last year was 0.86. So we have seen a tremendous increase in the yield of the portfolio, and thus increase in the interest earned year to date. Here's the historical book value by fiscal year. You'll see at the bottom right, fiscal year 2023, we're at the high point And this is going back to fiscal year 2019. So this just shows the gradual increase in our portfolio over the last 5 years. And then this is a graphical chart that shows the ups and downs of our portfolio month by month, quarter by quarter. So and then this is an additional performance evaluation from fiscal year 2021. The next chart is the cash flow analysis that we did for the entire fiscal year. As you can see, we have met the cash flow needs of the city for the quarter and expect to meet the expenditure requirements for the upcoming period. And that's one of our main goals as a department. So here's the month-end portfolio book yield. We're just under 2.75, and as you can see, going back to July 22, we have seen quite an increase in our book yield. And then this chart goes over the maturity distribution of our portfolio. As I mentioned, 32.5% in investments that are maturing within the year and so forth. Trading activity for the quarter, we had 2 purchases and then we had 1 redemption. So pretty busy quarter for us. Here's the interest allocation summary that we wanted to discuss in detail. Approximately 60% of our investment earnings are allocated to the general fund. The remaining 40% of the earnings are dispersed within various different funds. So, examples are gas tax, Measure M, local Measure R, air quality. So that's where approximately 40% of our investment earnings are allocated. The methodology. All funds that do not have their own individual bank account are part of the pooled cash balance. Each fund's proportion of total pooled cash balance is the basis for allocating interest income. Pooled cash is reconciled monthly, and interest income is allocated based on the fund's proportionate share of pooled cash by way of a journal entry. So here's the flow. Investment earnings are deposited into a money market account at U.S. Bank. They are registered as revenue in the treasurer's account, and then they are allocated based on each fund's proportionate share of pooled cash, and interest revenue is credited to each fund by journal entry. So here's a detailed summary of May 2023. The remaining 40% that didn't get contributed to the general fund, they were allocated as follows. So for example, the first line you'll see state gas tax for the month of May, 2.1 million, which is 1.63%. So interest allocated is approximately $2,000 and so on. So that's how for the month of May, the subtotal is approximately 42,000 that was allocated to these various different funds. And then finally, here's the fiscal impact. Interest earned year to date, 2,435,724. As I mentioned, approximately 60% of that is allocated to the general fund, which is equivalent to $1,461,434. At the beginning of the fiscal year, we had budgeted a contribution to the general fund of $750,000. So we pretty much almost doubled that, given the increase in the rate environment that we experienced over the fiscal year. So that concludes our report. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Yes, sir.
You mentioned you have invested money in U.S. banks. Can you name those banks?
Oh, no. It's a U.S. Bank money market account, and that money market account is earning approximately 4.5%. So the additional funds that we have that we would like to maintain liquidity for liquidity purposes, we transfer that money into the U.S. Bank money market account.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to make a note for the commission, a couple of things. I wanted to thank Deputy Treasurer Nilesh. When Commissioner Woodham was here, there was an interest in additional transparency for where the investment income was going, which is why that detail was provided for the commission. So as part of your recommendations to improve transparency and reporting, that has been incorporated into this report and can be incorporated into future reports to satisfy that request of the commission. Just as an anecdotal remark, you may have recently heard about Fitch downgrading U.S. securities from AAA to AA+. That will not affect us in our investment policy. Our investment policy allows us to invest in securities that are AA+. So we will not be challenged in that way with the Fitch downgrade of the U.S. Treasuries.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you. Any comments? So all in,
And there's in regards to this item, there's no public comment, whether on Zoom or e-comments. So your next step would be for someone to motion to receive and file the treasurer's report.
those in favor?
I move that we accept the treasurer's report and file.
Okay, and we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Castle,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jesse,
Aye.
Commissioner Samples,
Aye.
Commissioner Sherbin.
Aye.
So we move on to J2, discussion and possible action regarding annual financial reports for fiscal year ended June 30th. Would Wendy you like to comment on that?
Well, good evening to the commission. Wendy Colazzo, Finance Director. There's nobody else in this room more thrilled to have this discussion with you and present the final ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for 2022. It has been a great endeavor. And, we look forward. We have Kelly Telfer on the line with LSL, our auditor, for specific questions that this commission may have. I just wanted to briefly, as I turn it over to Kelly and any questions that you all may have, one of the main and key highlights, as you've heard before, was the delay due to the implementation of GASB 87. Just a quick history on what that means to the city of Redondo, why such a tremendous accomplishment is obviously putting into effect a new financial reporting requirement. It takes a heavy lift. This GASB 87's purpose is to standardize reporting as it relates to lessees and lessors for any lease agreements. As you know, a lease is just a contract to use somebody's non-financial assets, so therefore we want to have transparency, and GASB requires transparency in reporting, so all governments report those assets correctly. That endeavor, we have been compared, believe it or not, the city of Redondo and the amount of leases we had to the county of Riverside, in the amount that we had and the years of getting all this together, which is for a city this size, it's a huge endeavor. There is no rest for the weary, and as we open up 22-23 already, and we are in engagement already, we prepare for the next GASB for subscriptions of information technology. As you heard, 93 is coming into play, which will take just 3 months only to compile data. And so we're well ahead of that. So, to be in line. Overall, the position of the city remains strong, as you will see through the MD&A, which was just a, generic sample of what happened with inflows and outflows. Overall, we're kind of digesting the ACFR pending your review and any questions that we can answer. And again, Kelly on the phone of the whole engagement for you for this audit. And as we move on to prepare for council on A15 with any of your recommendations or comments as we leave this meeting. Officially on the record, before we enter that, I wanted to, and you've been introduced to our new Assistant Financial Services Director, Ms. Stephanie Mayer. And, I just wanted to give her a couple minutes just to, address the commission and say hello, and then moving on to any reviews and questions from you for the ACFR.
Sure, thanks, Wendy. Which one? This one? All right, I got it. I think I got it. Okay. Oh, I just keep it there. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Commission. I'm very excited to be here, very excited to be part of the city. I've heard, it's my 4th week, and I've heard from staff and everyone just love of being in the city and working for it. So excited to be here. I was most recently in Santa Monica. I was in their finance department for about 10 years, working on a variety of things, but one task I had was to support our city's audit subcommittee. So I've some experience in this area. I'm very passionate about being municipal transparency, financial transparency, and making our finances as open and strong as possible. So really looking forward to supporting you guys, providing any information you need, and just being responsive to what you're looking for. So happy to be here.
You said you moved from Santa Monica. Did you have a similar position there?
Yes. So my position was, I was a principal analyst there. I was reporting directly to our finance director. So it's.
Do you notice any difference in how the city of Redondo Beach operates compared to Santa Monica?
A little bit. In general, it's just a little bit smaller of an operation. Santa Monica is slightly larger, about 90,000 people, 8.3 square miles, but had at one point over 2,000 employees. So that's a big difference between these two. And yeah, but in terms of services provided, in terms of being, a city with a strong track record of good financial management, I see a lot of similarities there.
We're always looking for best practices, regardless of where we notice them. So I would urge both you and Wendy to look for something that could improve our operations, reporting, and mostly security, because we hear about so many threats to database, and I don't know, is that something that is budgeted separately as a line item, or is it something that is just included in the IT budget?
Well, it's actually in the reference of your ACFR, it is part, you have an information technology audit in the back end that they do along with the other components. They test security, and as an added bonus, just because you have 2 new people, and, as I remember this commission telling me on day 1 to add my own flair, what we're doing is leveling up to ensure security measures are up there. We've heard of all the cyber attacks, just the custody of everything. We're working actually with the treasurer on other areas as well, as far as getting everything aligned as to what it is. And, we have this great new finance project spreadsheet that covers many, and one of the first is the APP that quite frankly, has not been updated since well before I was roaming this earth. And so we're leveling that up to security measures. The priority is workflow and authority levels, to make that very clear. The second part and phase is updating policy and adding extra policy, not to stop things, but to make it organic and secure and transparent. We were at about probably easily 47 new policies to enhance, to discuss and everything. So that's kind of the stages. We're taking them in big buckets to add, fluidity. Accountability is really the motto that I kind of have, and with the team is just making sure everybody knows where everything ins and outs and everything. We're taking the recommendations from different departments as we tackle the APP. We're bringing new things to the 21st century for Redondo, as far as best practices through the GFOA, making sure that we're not doing something and reinventing a wheel, but really following best practice, right? And so we can be leaders, in the industry of municipal accounting. So that's where we're going with it. It takes a little time and, but we hope the cart is moving a little bit faster now as we get this team. One, I'd like to just take the opportunity to thank our veteran here, Doug, who has made it through transition with us new coming on board. Has dealt with our millions of questions and everything, but a true veteran that has been here. So, I personally thank him because it's been a pleasure to just be part of the team with him and him putting up with us and really getting this to goal, with us and helping us along the way just to kind of end the deal because he did go through the main guts of everything. So, but that is the plan.
Since both of you are relatively new and coming from different cities, but with the same background, we're really looking forward to getting some fresh ideas because now you can take a look at what we're doing. That most of the old timers may be used to it, but I'm sure you'll have a lot of new ideas. Another question I had was, how often do we back up the data and how is it backed? Is there a procedure to ensure?
So data is always backed up nightly. And right now, actually, the new director of information technology as well has a long list, and he's been working on getting new servers, new components and things. We align and have kind of talked about the things that we have to do together, him on the systematic side, but the backups are having a cap and nightly, and then they have backup servers for that information. And again, he's revisiting best practices, ensuring security. We've talked to him about the IT audit this year, what we can do to enhance, and make sure we're kind of checking off those checklists. So that brings a new spin as well, having somebody new like that, again, nothing broken in the city. It's just because we're new, we get to see it from a different perspective and add our spin. And, so the great part is the synergy that's happening because of all this new movement is that we're able to at least discuss new opportunities if needed. And there's nothing wrong with the old and the history either. It's just making sure that we're up to speed and level, so.
And the last question I had was is there any advantage or any use in looking at any artificial intelligence software or any program that might help speed up things or improve the transparency of your reports?
To be honest, Vice Chair, I think that there's always an opportunity. I don't want to overpromise to say I wouldn't know right now because we haven't focused on that. We're trying to kind of take care of what we have existing, but we are going to the new age of reporting and everything. So AI is naturally the future of business, right? So I say, yes, there's an opportunity. Do I have an exact one? No. That would be when we cross that bridge, to really secure what we have, the guts before, putting the cart before the horse kind of thing. But absolutely, with technology the way there is, there's all kinds of ideas with the new kind of blood you're getting into the city. It's naturally, like I said, the information technology director comes with new ideas, new ways of doing things and streamlining. But at this point, to be fair with you, have not looked into that as we just kind of, ensure the custody of what we have right now. And then we can talk about that as we come up for air a little bit.
More than artificial intelligence, my experience suggests that we really look at data analytics because we have huge amounts of data. And if you do the proper analysis, I think you will discover some pretty interesting things that we may not have paid attention to or may have overlooked. So that's something I would really encourage both of you to look into.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And quite frankly, we can't do it without this commission, right, and your input, because that's what drives what data analytics we're doing. What are you looking for that's information that's relevant to you and your constituents and the people you talk to, right? Because we don't want to produce reports that mean nothing, and say nothing, right? So we don't want to put, like I said, any rock and roll to nothing, and it just, the material isn't understood, or, so we look to you on that to be able to search for those analytics and perform those analysis, because we don't, like I said, want to give you, information that means nothing or has no value. So I could tell you that will not be without the partnership of this commission, and hence the reason I think, you serve is to give us that feedback so we can better serve, and reach the objectives of the city manager and the council.
Yeah, maybe in the next meeting or one after that, we can have a little more discussion on that topic.
Yes, sir.
I had some suggestions, but I'll need to kind of refine them and present them for discussion.
Yes, sir. I will note that.
Thank you so much for your comments and your feedback, both of you.
I just had a couple of questions on the auditor's letter that were on several other reports. There were several comments or areas for improvement, and one, for example, was noted that it's it's a small, almost clerical type change that would need to be made. Are we doing anything to make those changes for the fiscal 23 audit that's coming up, or is this the standard way we're going to do it?
Sure. Well, to kind of explain that part, when we get a finding like that, it is my responsibility to provide a corrective action.
Okay.
And so I did so in that, which is included in the audit, which one of the things that happened was the transition of just institutional knowledge walking out of here, right? Mm-hmm. I think we're already on the path, and that was the corrective measure where we hired the pivotal positions. We don't intend for them to move, right? So that your finance director, the assistant, we have some institutional knowledge already established, and then the analyst is new. So we've put almost, 30 plus years of experience in different facets. And then, of course, establishing tenure that we don't have that transition and movement, let's make it through 12 months, right, and establish. So that's the corrective measure.
Okay.
And we've responded with that, and that seems to be, suffice. They just noted it. One, because of the timing as well, when you're short-staffed like you are, but we believe that corrective measure we already have in place. And as we're doing right now, leveling up with policy, putting in procedures, actually writing them, down and realigning coming out of transition is definitely going to make sure that we're on deadline and we're proactive versus reactive, so.
Great, thank you.
I just want to make a comment in regards to your question. I was here for this audit. Wendy and Stephanie obviously are new here, but I do take responsibility for that. That's something was an oversight on my side. It was something new that I didn't quite understand, and so I missed that. So we've added that to our list to make sure we take care of that for fiscal year 23, this upcoming audit. And I think it's important that, we learn from it, and it's more important that we don't make the same mistake.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that it was, I think it was just a technical part of the audit that was missed, and not, financial material, or there was a material weakness caused by it. But I just wanted to make sure that we were always trying to make it better and, taking information from these reports and incorporating it in for next year.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wendy, may I speak to that as well? Sorry to interject. It's hard to see me since I'm on Zoom.
Absolutely, Kelly, go right ahead.
Thank you. So I don't normally come to staff's defense. I'm the audit partner. It's not really my role. But I will tell you, we walked this path with your team. We worked with them on the new lease implementations. We worked with them on some of the real complex calculations. Even though this one item was missed, I will tell you, I would have expected a heck of a lot more to have been missed, given the changes that the organization went through. So, we have a responsibility, certain things trigger, and we don't have a choice. We have to report it. And this was one of those instances, but I think this was spectacular that your team was able to get this across the finish line in this good a shape. Mm-hmm. Even though it's a good amount late, it's a good financial statement and all of the accruals are there. All the information you need to rely on it is there. This one small thing shouldn't overshadow all the hard work that went into it because they killed it, especially with that institutional knowledge that left. So I do just want to give Doug that shout out because he persevered through it and answered all of our questions, even though he had never dealt with any of it.
Thank you.
Like I mentioned to the commission, this is your time. Any questions that you'd like to ask Kelly. That's why she's available for you to, if anything, we can go around with you. And then as it's been tradition from this commission to get a form, whatever recommendation you have so that we can prepare for council on August 15th with your word on, the ACFR and its and the results of it, what you think and recommend.
We have a lot of material here. Do you have any particular bullet points or things that you think would be appropriate for us to focus on, or things that you think may be contentious where we could provide some feedback?
I did not because normally I followed the trend that you receive. But, I one with the timing as well, I kind of figured, not that it's invaluable or not, but just wanted to kind of get the pulse just because of the timing and where we are. And you've seen what's been done, right, with budget and everything crossing over. So I did not, other than the most material part of this whole audit and what kind of drove the timeline and the work behind it, which was these GASB requirements. I did not see anything that was detrimental to mention as far as a variance that differed from your last 5 years, right? That was so detrimental that we needed to discuss. I will take that as feedback, as we prepare for this 22-23 audit of making, bullet points and discussion points that you like. Like I said, I referenced what you've accepted and liked, and that's what we need the feedback for to kind of know where you want to go with it. Overall, like I said, I did not note anything that was, significant enough to say there was a huge variance and discussion about.
One thing I would like to include in the reports is some sort of analysis of the capital improvement projects. In the past, how many of these projects were completed on time, and did they finish the projects on budget, or did they exceed the budget? Because we hear all the time that most of these capital improvements projects or new projects go way over the budget, and then also takes a lot longer. So what is our city's track record? What has been the record in the past 5 years, and what can we learn from it, and how do we kind of mitigate the damage or any cost overruns? So it would be nice to have some sort of an analysis of the past 3 or 5 years of all the capital improvement projects and see how they stack up against what the, I don't know if there is any standard for the whole state or anything along that lines. If we can get some feedback, that would be nice. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I just don't want to muddle like the ACFR's purpose, right? Where we're, reporting on a fund-based level, your assets, liabilities, and just overall performance, to where I think what you're asking for is more of a budgetary report on capital improvement projects. So that's separate to some reporting that you'd like, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That's definitely, like I said, doable. We are in development right now of giving you standard reports for these meetings, because I did not see that historically, where you should be, in my opinion, getting a snapshot of major revenues and their performance to budget. Capital would be one, open POs, things of that nature. I'm going to throw some emails to you with some suggestions that I think, as we've developed these reports, to see if, are we missing something, a little OPEB reporting maybe, and to keep you abreast. be mindful, and it's been a discussion that, we're kind of throwing around, is that monthly reporting on that is very, very difficult, right, for a city. It's not very valuable versus maybe quarterly, as you see the treasurer's report comes in quarterly because the booking of things and that. So something to suggest to this commission about the timeliness of those reports and monthly, just I don't think you'd get enough drive there, right, initially, right, and maybe.
Say yearly evaluation of the past for 3 or 5 years trend would be more than adequate.
Sure, yeah.
Just once a year before we
Okay,
approve the budget for the next fiscal year. At least we should get some idea of how well we have done with the capital improvement projects in the last 3 or 5 years, and what can we learn from it so we can avoid some of the cost overruns or delays. That's I think the best time to do it, just once a year.
okay. Very well, I've noted that.
Thank you.
I think like what you were saying also, that variance report on anything that you find that you think is material in terms of either what we've seen in the past or what expectations were, would be helpful, like not only in this report, but all of our.
Sure. One of the things, to note just from the procedure, just to be transparent about this as well, just because of the transition, we did task on with LSL to have them write this MD&A, and they got that development going to kind of give you a standardized, just because, again, that institutional knowledge wasn't there to get us through, goal here. Doesn't change anything. It's just kind of preempting that we're going to be adding that and making this document, what I'll tell you, my review, or things I would like you to focus on or know is we want this document to have value, because it's not about awards, it's about what this means. Again, we don't want this to end up in somebody's, end of the bed there and throw it on the floor kind of thing, because it takes so many hours to get this done. But the MD&A, we want to give information that's not always, financial documents are financial documents. I mean, they're not the life of the party, but we want to make sure, so we're going to be revetting this as far as the structure of the MD&A, some of the information represented to make sure that it's connected with everything that you're seeing throughout the year, right? Being reported, that it correlates, and it gives you the information that is necessary.
Just want to make a quick comment. I think the report on the capital projects sounds interesting to me. I'm more adept at looking at data on a work in process basis, where we're talking about what the cost to date is, or some guideline like that, what the total cost was projected at, and what the remaining cost is projected at. Because if we wait until it's over and talk about it at the end of the project, there's nothing we can do.
Sure.
But if we're looking at it on sort of a work in process basis, and we see where we're cost overrun based on whatever the criteria for, that particular stage of the project is, those are kind of the projects that we probably would be most able to do something about. And perhaps the ones that are on budget, management by exception, I think would be a way to state that. We'd like to see the ones that are a problem. The other ones we're going to assume are just going fine, and because you haven't highlighted those.
Absolutely. I don't disagree. I think that's, standard reporting that you should have, really a CWIP, right? What's in till and what's going on with it, and we can definitely, like I said, that's something we can.
And just in terms maybe of a snapshot of here we are, not necessarily a detailed analysis of all of the problems, but or a formal kind of statement, but here's a snapshot today, here's where the projects are, here's one that looks like it's going to be a problem, these other ones aren't, and that'll let us focus kind of on them.
Do you think quarterly, like the treasurer's report, would be enough aggregate information that you could see some trends versus month to month, but not as long as waiting a year to?
That's kind of, yeah.
I tend to agree with that too.
That's
maybe a little bit quarterly sounds to me a little bit more effective.
Absolutely.
Then you can get in and do something versus and judges a report about how badly or how well we did on something what can we do about
In
this?
the interim.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason to mention it because, to trend and really, I mean, even a quarter, right? To really start trending through years and what's happening and tying that and really giving you analysis, right? To just put that, it's just on a monthly, it's not enough meat. Even if we did monthly for 3 years back, that's just a snapshot in time, so the value of that. But yeah, quarterly gives us a little bit more trending ability, gives us a little bit more data to analyze in multiple years too, because you got projects that have crossed over, and could be 5-year projects, should be 3, could be only a year, you know what I mean? And so we want to make sure we kind of heat map that for you.
Okay.
And give you that, so.
Thank you.
So
There's no doubt this has been a heroic effort, putting this together this time, and I really appreciate the work of everyone on the staff getting this together. And a couple of minor errors, heck, 200 pages of detail like this, I think you're entitled, okay? The one thing I would like to talk about is trying to look at this data and be able to visualize what it's telling you very quickly. When I get back to like page 164, where you start getting into 10-year financial components and that entire section, I have a hard time tracking on these things because of the way they're laid out. In some cases, you've got, 164, you've got years 2013 through 2017, and then it follows on the next page. In other places, it follows from left page to right page. So this is a formatting issue more than a material issue, and it's just so that for old guys like me, it's easier to track all the data and look across the columns of numbers. If there's a way to somehow do that, it may have to be done in landscape mode or some smaller level of detail, some kind of roll-ups otherwise. But if you can help with that, for me, that would be easier when I'm going through 200 pages of documentation like this. And maybe we don't have to go back 10 years. Maybe 7 would be adequate. I don't know. Seems like when we get back 10 years, people were counting with other kinds of devices.
Just a comment on that. You're referring to our statistical section?
Yes.
Yes. So, when it comes to reporting for the 10 years, that is part of the requirement.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I was
So
going to
it's-
note that we couldn't, the 10-year is something, we can't. But I get what you're saying as far as the visual aspect of the data, right? So.
Either consistently go left page, right page, or have it all on one page, but somehow try to make it a little bit more consistent from one section to the next.
and does it really have to be 10 years? Can it be,
It does.
that's
What you
the,
just said.
Yeah, I think.
It might also be possible if that's something that you would just like to see, perhaps not in the, in the bound book, but if you would like to see that in your role as a commissioner, I mean, I'm sure that's something that we could pull together some different kind of data presentation for you or, kind of easier analysis.
I don't want to make extra work. I think for me, it would be easier to visualize it. And I would think that anyone looking at this, it would be easier to visualize. So if there's a way to do it, great. And there are some cases where it might not be reasonable to ask for that. I get that too. Sometimes the data is just too complex to be able to put it all on one page or on 2 adjoining pages. But where it's possible, it would be nice.
I think that's a great suggestion, something that is outside the act for, having this information to better tailor, like we're talking about. It's a great time because it's not really adding extra work. It's kind of just qualifying what we can provide for you that may get you that. So like I said, we can, definitely look at the options, present something.
That's all I have.
any more comments,
Thank you all
questions?
for the hard work of putting this together and the heavy lifting, working with the auditor to get this done for the city. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thanks to the Treasury Department, too.
Thanks,
You're doing a
yes.
splendid
Yes, the
job,
Treasurer's
guys. Didn't get a chance to get that in during your report, but it's looking good.
he was one of us, so that certainly reflects in the performance.
So
Appreciate your-
I move that we receive and file the annual financial report.
I'll second.
Before we do that, I just want to note that for the record, there is no public comment in regards to this item. And also, we want to thank Kelly Telford for joining us from LSL.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly, even if you did come in from
Up above.
Thank you for having me.
So if you, again, can someone make a motion again? Did someone make a motion on this?
Move to receive and file the annual financial report.
I'll second.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Castle,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jesty,
Aye.
Commissioner Samples.
Aye.
Commissioner Sherbin.
Aye.
Any other items or referrals to staff? Item K on the agenda? None? So we move to adjourn the,
I just have one
Meeting?
question. Any idea what we're going to have on the agenda for next month?
Well, for our planning was to have those reports ready for you on this go-round as you're scheduled, so revenues, some expenditures. So have the first format to see what you think about it and talk about just performance to date. And probably a synopsis of just what's going on just as we opened up 23, 24 and start kind of vetting that. So we'll kind of test run you on some reports that we'd like to incorporate for you and then get that feedback so we can start going and maybe get it in a cyclical, for you. So that's the intent. And then I have the conversation, if you'd like to bring it for next meeting for the discussion on AI. Just need to know what we want to discuss and if, what direction you want me to look at that to bring that if you want to open that up for discussion.
Very good. I have nothing else.
I think,
Nothing else. Yeah.
yeah. Let's move to adjourn the meeting. Those in favor?
Yeah.
Of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the meeting is adjourned. When do we meet next?
Sorry, I don't have that date. It'll be the second Thursday in September.
It will be after Labor Day, I assume.
Second Thursday is the
Yes.
14th.
14th, sounds right.
14? Okay, all right. Okay, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.